And joining us now in the nation's capital, Akaash Maharaj, agenda, insight, essayist, and with us here in studio, Donald Blair, political and technology consultant. Guys, good to have you on the program tonight. Akaash, nice to see you up there in Ottawa. As you all know, we got Victoria Day coming right up. Prince Charles is landing in Toronto on Monday. It's the Queen's Diamond Jubilee this year, so we're going to talk about the monarchy. So first, Akaash, get us started. Where do you stand on the monarchy?
I think, like most Canadians, I don't have particularly strong feelings about it. I think that if we were starting with a blank slate today, it's pretty much inconceivable that we would choose to be governed by a monarch in the way that we are, to have a head of state who inherits the position rather than earns it, who is a resident of a foreign country in the pay of a foreign government, and who is banned from being a member of our largest faith group. Having said that, like most Canadians, I'm violently allergic to constitutional itis. And I think that most Canadians would not wish to see the Constitution reopened, except for something that's going to bring significant benefit to the country. And whatever benefits might come from shedding the monarchy, I think would be vastly outweighed by the cost of getting there.
Okay, Donald?
Actually, I completely agree with Akaash. I'm a monarchist. I'm loyal. I'm a loyal subject to.
Then you don't agree with him because he seemed quite indifferent about it. And you seem quite strong about it.
In what he's saying about reopening the Constitution and in bringing in something that would be of net benefit to Canadians, that is something I agree with, and I don't think that there's a need, in fact, to do that. It's almost a moot point to be talking about whether or not getting rid of the monarchy in Canada should even be on the radar when most Canadians, like Akaash, are frankly indifferent to it. I think that there's a value and a purpose to having the monarchy and having a head of state in England, in the British monarchy, to Canada. I'm a firm believer in tradition. I'm a firm believer in loyalty, and I think that those are two qualities that the British monarchy, even to this day, continue to espouse to Canadians.
Akaash, I got to tell you, I bet there are some of our viewers who are hearing that accent of yours and saying, "What? Why isn't he a little more bullish on the Queen?" And you know, that's a pretty decent question, actually. Why aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Well, my accent is mixed up wherever I am. People tell me I sound like I'm from somewhere else. But though I was born in Toronto, I did live in the United Kingdom in my youth, and I went to university there. I suppose one of the reasons I'm not altogether bullish on the monarchy is that, in part, like most people whose family background is from countries that were colonized, I suppose I see the monarchy not so much through the lens of the colonizers as the colonized. From that perspective, the monarchy is a tremendously mixed legacy, both for the better and for the worse. I think that the monarchy in the British Empire, for example, was one of the engines of slavery. But at the same time, it was the imperial parliament that was one of the great, and people like Wilberforce, who were one of the great leaders in abolishing slavery and through the Royal Navy, ridding the seas of slave traders. In India, where my family was ancestrally from, there's no overstating the brutality and savagery of the occupation, but by the United Kingdom. But having said that, the institutions that the British Empire left behind, like the rule of law, constitutional government, parliamentary supremacy, and the natural rights of human beings, have become the foundation stones of modern democracy and the defense of human rights. From that perspective, I suppose I see the monarchy, and I choose to see the monarchy, through the lens of the benefits it has brought to global society, though I am conscious of the cost at which those benefits were purchased.
We've heard about his family background. He's kind of, as the accent suggests, if you listen really carefully, he's kind of from all over the place a little bit. How about you? What's your family background?
I'm a born and raised Canadian, but my parents are Jamaican, and half of my dad's family is from England. So
lots of connection with the Queen there.
So there's quite a bit, and they grew up in a colony of Jamaica at the time when the British monarchy had Jamaica in its colony, and so I grew up in a household that. I mean, being in a West Indian household, it's stern enough as it is, but you grow up in a household where, you respect tradition, you respect loyalty, and those are things that, those are the reasons I started to become more of a monarchist in my early ages. As I got older, it became more clear to me. As Akaash was saying, there are a lot of benefits to having a constitutional monarchy in Canada that a lot of Canadians seem to forget. The big issue here is, does Canada feel it's grown up enough to be able to do things on its own? Well, Canada is a pretty old country. I would think
Canada
that
does things on its own. Let's face it. I mean,
Canada has been doing things on its own.
Akaash in his first answer said it's odd to be governed by the Queen. We're not governed by the Queen anymore, really.
No,
not really.
And so this is why I get a little bit incensed sometimes when people get very serious about wanting to remove the monarchy when we haven't had any major harm or foul with the Queen as the head of state or with King George prior. So
let me get into both of your backgrounds in this sense. I am trying to get a better understanding of whether being part of the Commonwealth and whether having that historical connection to the monarchy is a factor in whether people choose Canada versus any other country to emigrate to. And Akaash, I don't know, check your family background and tell us whether or not those connections factored at all in the decision to ultimately come to, for your folks to get to Canada.
Very much so. My family emigrated to Canada in the late 1960s, and I remember asking my grandfather as a child what it was about Canada that made them choose this country. My family immigrated here from Trinidad, so also from the West Indies. And I suppose a country of ice and snow is perhaps not the top of the mind of someone from the West Indies. But the reason that he gave was that he felt that because Canada was another Commonwealth country, it was likely to have institutions, a culture, traditions, a background that he would understand and that would understand him. From that perspective, the monarchy as a symbol of that package of being part of the Commonwealth is attractive, but I think that it's not so much the monarchy itself as the Commonwealth traditions that the monarchy symbolizes. Ultimately, I think whether people are in favor of the monarchy or opposed to it depends largely more on themselves than on the monarchy. It depends on what you choose to project upon the monarchy. The Queen is, of course, totally powerless, and that is exactly why she retains the position she has. Ultimately, the impotence of the monarchy is its greatest strength in remaining the head of state of countries across the world. And in a strange sort of way, the monarchy has become successful because it has, in the 21st century, because it has allowed people to see in it what they choose to see, whether they choose to see a legacy of colonial oppression or they choose to see a legacy of the rule of law.
Donald, how about those issues, that connection as being at all a factor in why your family chose Canada?
Absolutely. It's very similar to the reasons Akaash made. My parents figured that, living in Jamaica, although, there's snow and ice in Canada, they decided that the opportunities that they had and the lifestyle that they lived in Jamaica would not be drastically different living in a country that is also a Commonwealth state. There are a lot of other reasons for them to immigrate to Canada, but I think that the fact that we are a Commonwealth state, a Commonwealth country, was probably the biggest factor for them in moving to Canada.
Now, Donald, let's do the follow-up. The follow-up is we obviously have lots of people who are now Canadians who don't come from a Commonwealth country. They come from nothing like a Commonwealth country. But they come to Canada where the Queen is the head of state. Do they have a connection? What's your sense about whether they have a connection to the Queen?
I don't think, and it goes back to the overall debate on the separation of the monarchy from Canada, I don't think that they really care, honestly. I think that they come to Canada for wildly different reasons, mostly to seek opportunity, to be reunited with family, there are some even rare cases where people come here because the benefits of taxpayer-funded things like healthcare and education don't exist in their home country. And I think that the very fact that we have that foundation that allows Canadians to come here for those reasons is built by having the foundation of the British monarchy in Canada. And I think that for those Canadians to come here, they don't see the connection, and they frankly don't care.
Akaash, where are you on that?
I think that's probably the case. I do know that some people who become new citizens of Canada often several people have told me that they have found it unusual that they take an oath to the Queen, not an oath to Canada or to their fellow Canadians. But having said that, that ceremony is probably the only time the Queen intrudes into their lives. I suspect that the challenge for the monarchy going forward will be when Prince Charles succeeds to the throne. To a large extent, the monarchy has been viewed positively in Canada because the Queen has done a good job, and she has presided over a phenomenally long period of time through periods of transition, the fall of the British Empire and the re-emergence of the United Kingdom as a modern state in the European Union. Her son will have to fundamentally redefine, I believe, the role, and how he chooses to define that role and how he's enabled or allowed to define that role will, I think, bear significantly on the support or otherwise for the monarchy in Canada. He will not be able to reach back to an imperial past like his mother. He will need to reach forward towards a future and to be able to articulate what is it that makes him a worthy representative of our country, and what is it across the Commonwealth that binds us together as one group of countries.
Well, I want to pick up on something, Donald, that Akaash had to say a few minutes ago, where he talked about, given his family's personal tie to India and all of the British monarchy's historic involvement in that country and how that played in his view of the monarchy. How about in your family? Does Britain's monarchic past have less favor because of some of the difficulties they've had over the years in your family?
Not entirely, no. I think that, being black, we've just had it difficult regardless of who the monarchy is, period, and or the very existence of a monarchy. I think we've just had it difficult for, hundreds of years, but I don't think that it makes it, I don't think in my family that ever played a part in whether or not we really supported the monarchy or only just somewhat supported the monarchy. And I think that my parents, for example, they saw the tradition and they saw the loyalty and the rule of law, and it helped me understand a little bit more as I was growing up about how the country was formed and what it means to be, just even what it means to be Canadian, not even so much what it means to be a monarchist. I'm more grateful for that than I am to dwell on, a small part of the past of the history of the monarchy that, as Akaash has mentioned, has some roots to things like slavery.
Right. Got about a minute and a half left, so let me get brief answers from both of you on this. One of the reasons I hear people tell me that they still like the monarchy in Canada is that it sure, above a lot of other things, confirms that we're not Americans, because they don't have anything like this. Do you agree with that, Donald?
I think that what's interesting is the people who think that we should abolish the monarchy are also the same ones who really don't want us to become anything like the United States. Well, if we had truly abolished the monarchy even 30 years ago when we repatriated the Constitution, we'd be a lot closer to the United States today than we ever have been. We should be very grateful that we at least have that separation. I think it actually, on the cost side too, I know that Canadians are concerned about the costs of being part of the Commonwealth and the cost of even having, royal family members visit Canada. I think that cost overall to taxpayers becomes much higher when you're a republic than it does as a monarchy. In my opinion.
No, I'm afraid I'll have to disagree. I think that I think that Canada is a strong enough country and a distinct enough country that our values and our values, our identity, our history, our vision of ourselves and our vision of the world is what sets us apart from the United States. I think that if all that stood between Canada and the Canadian identity and the American identity were a single person living in another country, we'd be in serious trouble. Canada is a strong country with the monarchy. I believe we would be no less strong without it.
Mind you, if there is a monarch in this world today, it is the President of the United States, right? That guy's king.
Well,
he really is.
He's got it pretty easy, I think, though. Right.
He's got it pretty easy. Guys, good of both of you to join us tonight and help us out with this. Akaash Maharaj, our Agenda Insight essayist in the nation's capital. Donald Blair here in Toronto. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.